have to even talk to it like a lead singer. You know, instead of preparing something special for this event, I'm saying something to you guys just off the top of my head about Chester, which I've done so many times in so many videos and on Facebook and all this kind of stuff. I really kind of lamented over what on earth do I say. This is just, you know, for me, this is for all of us, you know. But this has been a really, really rough, emotional thing for us to go through. I was just kind of going through everything, and I thought that I would just kind of, I guess, time travel a little bit to a few days after we got the news, and we realized that we needed to actually write a eulogy, you know, for his funeral. So, you know, I just thought, fuck it, I'll just share it with you guys. This is the actual eulogy that I wrote for the funeral. When I started writing it, I ended up finding myself sort of writing a letter to him and going in and out of talking to his family and his wife, to Linda, and the guys in Lincoln Park, who, by the way, have been absolutely fantastic, wonderful guys. So, you know, as I go through this, you know, maybe I'll improvise if I don't start crying. But this was written a few days after we found out, and took about a week or two to kind of bang through this and get this to a point where it was presentable. But you know, it's not as dark as I'm sounding right now. So I spent the last week writing, trying to organize my thoughts and feelings about Chester, trying to understand this, what I pretty much classify as a nightmare, make some sort of sense out of it, you know, sitting on planes, going back and forth on tour, trying to keep myself composed and figure out how to even handle this situation. And I found it was very, very easy to get very, very dark. Have you guys gone there yet?
Yes.
Very, very dark, right? Because when you try to figure out why, and try to think about what you could have done as his friend, the path doesn't go anywhere. So I find it really hard to not go down that path, and I was finding a very hard time not going down that path shortly after it happened. But after Amir and I flew home from tour, we sat with Linda and the family, and we just all were hanging out at his house, and we were talking with Chester's mother, and you know, it was really, really rough. That was a tough situation. No one had their head on straight. I mean, we were really, really struggling together. Sean had a great idea, and he goes, you know, let's get out of here with Susan. Susan's Chester's mother, and Caitlin, my girlfriend, and Sean and I all took Susan to dinner. Fuck, I'm glad we did that. Because I was going downhill. So we went to dinner and we started talking, and Susan was super grateful. She was like, thank you so much. I didn't know that I needed to get out, but I did. And I'm so grateful that we're having dinner together, and grateful. That's a concept. Grateful. I started feeling happy as Susan started telling me stories, telling us stories about Chester when he was a 2-year-old. Oh my God. Just like you guys can imagine, right? Like you guys already know what was going on. She was telling me that he learned the entire Popeye movie at like 2 or 3 years old. I can't remember the exact age. And he would sing and act out all the parts for everyone that came over to the house. The whole thing, and he would make them listen to the whole thing. He would make them sit. This is like little Chester. It probably weighed like 4 pounds. Probably as big as a Chihuahua. You know, he was a little guy for a long time before he became, you know. Yes, we were in competition for a long time to be in shape, and he won. So we were all laughing at dinner, and we discovered something, that whenever we started talking about Chester, we couldn't help but start laughing and having a good time. And you know, you could probably tell that I was pretty emotional when I came up, but as you start talking about him, you just can't help but start smiling. And that's what happened. And that gave me a direction to start writing something for his actual eulogy. It kind of saved me, saved the day. So I'm really, really grateful. Rob Borden was also at the Bennington's house the same day that I was there, or one of the days that I was there. And he privately came up and told me some of the nicest things that I've ever heard a man say. Totally comforted me. It was some private stuff, but I mean, it was deep and it was so caring. And it made me really, really grateful that Chester was surrounded by such good guys as the Lincoln Park guys. Mike, Rob, Brad, Joe, Dave, incredible human beings. And I'm grateful that when he wasn't with us, he was around those rad dudes. I mean, to say something like Rob said to me took a heart of gold. Just pulled me right out. Super cool. Those guys' props. Despite this almost unbearable tragedy, you know, again, I can't, every time I think of Chester, my heart's filled with love. And I keep going to happiness and being grateful. He made me so happy. He made all of us so happy. He did so many amazing things. Chester was my sweetest friend. He knew me in ways that no one else did. He uniquely knew my most embarrassing insecurities, my weaknesses, the darkness that we share within. And we talked about this many, many times. And he still loved me and he called me his brother. You know, when someone knows your most, I mean, the worst things about you, we all have them, right? Is there a person in your life that loves you anyways? Got a couple of them maybe one, maybe your parents, I don't know. Chester was like that. So how the fuck did I get so lucky? Wow, Chester Bennington, great guy, loves me unconditionally. Wow. I loved him so much, and I'm extremely grateful that we told each other that we loved each other every single day that we saw each other, and we hugged each other. Just absolutely, for 20 years. Super grateful for that. When we met 17 years ago, we were recording our records, Orgy's second record, Lincoln Park's first record, Hybrid Theory, at NRG Studios. And we were in Studio A, and Chester was in Studio B with the Lincoln Park guys. And inside of these soundproof multi-million-dollar studios, I heard someone singing from a couple rooms over so loud, I mean screaming at the top of his lungs, in key. I was just like, you know, okay. So, you know, it made my hair stand up on my arms. And I'm the social butterfly of Orgy, and Chester was certainly the social butterfly of Lincoln Park. So I walked out of the studio to find out who was roaming the halls, blowing their lungs out. And lo and behold, it was this the same guy that Sean knew that weighed about 90 pounds soaking wet. And you know, this little guy, and he happened to be an Orgy fan. And when I heard his voice, I was a Chester fan. And I hadn't heard Lincoln Park yet, but we just struck up a conversation. And literally in 5 minutes, we had each other's phone numbers and we're calling each other every day. I've never had an experience like that in my life. We were friends in 5 minutes. And we were never broken. There was never, in 17 years, a time that we weren't extraordinarily close friends. And again, incredibly grateful for this. I immediately found the combination of contradictory forces that drove Chester, also made him an incredibly attractive human being. He had incredible drive, talent at a level that I'd never encountered before, unstoppable strength of will. Yet he was so incredibly fragile. And I thought this was so beautiful. I also know that this made life extremely difficult for Chester. We spoke about it many times. And at the same time, he was so kind. I couldn't believe it. With that war going on, that beautiful, beautiful person, he was still so kind to everybody. I thought he was so special. Before I heard one song. And He was so fucking funny. God, he was so fun to be around. He turned the concept of poop into a comedic tool of bludgeoning. He came over to my house and sang Breaking the Habit, but substituting poo and pee into the main parts. It was the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life, but I laughed so hard, I couldn't believe it. Only, talking about gifts, Sean said something earlier, only Chester Bennington would buy me the penis pokey. For my birthday. Can you imagine how this book works? I'll kind of show you so that I don't go to jail. Thank you, Chester. So you're the star, and you put it right here. And it's a hot dog. He fucking came unglued when I did the book for him. A banana. I mean, you can... fucking unglued. A snake in a river? Who the fuck does this? Fireman. The most wrong dude I've ever met. The worm on a fish hook. Thanks, dude. This dude would come unglued and he would make me do penis pokey to total strangers at my house. Not once, not twice, uncountable amounts of times. He would come over and go, do penis pokey. And go like this. And when he does this, you can't say no, right? It's like Chester's making me do the thing with my wiener. I never saw his wiener in it though. So here's the butt of that joke. I am so proud of Chester. I'm in awe of what he did in Lincoln Park. I'm in awe of what they've accomplished. I'm in awe of all of you guys and the community that they've created and cultivated, and how awesome you guys have been. These signs, all over the world, these signs. We've had, I think, 10,000 messages with you guys holding these signs up just everywhere. It's incredible. It's awe-inspiring. I'm so grateful to have been able to write a record with Chester. That was one of the best times in our lives. Touring the world with Lincoln Park. It's funny, Lincoln Park opened for us in the beginning in Orgy, and shortly after we opened for them. Yes, selling 3 million records couldn't stand up to 20 million. And I always made that joke to Chester because he was such a goofy, funny guy. I go, dude, I'm going to be opening for you soon. So be cool to us. And we would laugh, and then literally 8 months later, we opened for them. So it's pretty funny. So again, how did I get so lucky? I have no idea. I feel like the luckiest guy on earth. And when I talk about this stuff, I'm just grateful. I'm astonished by what an amazing family Chester was able to create with Talinda and with everyone. I mean, all the people in his life. He had many children and children with different people, and I can't say enough incredible things about all of them. And Talinda for just taking everyone in and just creating such an amazing home environment and bringing that family together. And that's something that I'm going to be forever grateful for. She made him really, really happy, and that made us really, really happy. Some things I wrote to his kids I'm kind of leaving out that I said at the service, but I'm kind of grazing through a little bit because it just gets so personal. But I will always be their crazy Uncle Ryan. That's a nickname that church gave to me, and then Draven calls me Crazy Uncle Ryan, and Tyler calls me Crazy Uncle Ryan, and Lila came up to me the last time I was there, and I said, "Hey, it's Uncle Ryan," and she looked at me like Yeah, what would you think? She looks at me and she's like this big. She goes, "Can I kick you?" No, you cannot kick me. She goes, "Well, you're crazy like a lion. I can kick you." Little kick. I'm like, cute, most awesome kids in the world. I mean, it really shows what a great father he was. I mean, this guy doted over his family, every single one of them. He did some stuff that, I mean, honestly, could be too personal, but I'm telling you, this guy, in real life, was the most generous and wonderful guy, and he was so loving to everyone in his family. And I'm literally, I mean everyone. I'm not, no delineation between anyone. It was absolutely wonderful. He inspired me just by showing me how amazing a father could be when they actually try to combat their own demons and learn from the things that happened to them when they were young. We all know Chester went through some shit. He was still wonderful to his own kids. He didn't unleash any of that on that. He was wonderful. And that honestly was very inspiring to me. To Linda, you're an amazing woman, and I'm so grateful that you love my brother so unconditionally. You have been so strong for him, and seeing him with you has constantly made me have to reevaluate how I express my own love in my own relationships. I honestly don't know that I could ever be as good of a person as Chester. He was that good. He loved all of you so much. He told me. We talked about this. He appreciated you guys so much. Seriously, all of you. A mentally and emotionally healthy Chester would have never meant to hurt any of us. I can promise you that. Never. He was not himself when this happened, and he was not in control. We often spoke at length about the power of our darkness, in an effort to repel it and understand it, not invite it in and let it have its way with us. There's no easy way to say this, but this was not an act of selfishness. He didn't mean to hurt us. It was an act of illness. Upon rereading some of my last texts with Chester, Linda and I sat there and read them all together. I realized that while he was lovingly encouraging me with my own battle with addiction, and the dark passenger, as we called it, he was also clearly describing his own hour-by-hour battle with the demons that were still so closely hounding him. Despite all the rainbow and grateful emojis we were sending to one another, I seem to have missed the subtext. He told me that he had 6 months sobriety under his belt, and I foolishly thought, well, he's got this thing beat. Fucking awesome. The truth of the matter was that the dark passenger already had its hands on the wheel. And Chester was actually in a life or death battle to stay in control. Chester, I deeply understand the pain that you are in. I don't blame you. And I'm not angry with you. I'm so sorry I couldn't do more. Chester would be horrified if we let this destroy any of us. He would be horrified. So we're not going to do it. We're going to keep going on. We're going to choose to live. Even though I can't imagine a life without him. There's going to be one. And we're going to keep going. I'm going to talk about Chester every day. I'm going to hug every one of my loved ones every day. Anyone who's around me, you're getting a fucking hug. Fuck you if you're weird with germs and stuff.
I want to hug you.
Yeah, you're going to get it, don't worry. I'm going to tell them that I love them and that I'm always here for them every day. I'm going to write music every day because I know that that's what Chester did and that's what we loved. He always encouraged me to. I'm going to perform live as much as I possibly can. I will be channeling Chester through every word I sing and every note I play. I think about him when I perform. I will remember his strength, his talent, and his love, and I will use it to keep going. Chester, you have reawakened my desire to live, to make music, to love our families and friends as hard as we possibly can. Thank you so much, my dear friend. I'm speaking for Amir, for Julie and Kay, Dead by Sunrise, and our whole extended family. Chester, we love you so much. You've been a massive force of positivity in our lives, and you will never be forgotten. I want to thank all of you guys. Thank you so much.